Hi, I'm Johnny. You're watching a View to a Grill, and today it's my barbecue offset side table, complete with the Faux Cambro box for keeping your meat warm. Let's get started. So we're going to start off with cutting out the legs. I'm just doing this, the length of the leg minus the height of the caster. So I want mine to be 32 inches, and whatever caster you use, just subtract that from the length. We're going to go ahead and cut out the tabletop, and the length was determined with I had 6-foot boards, so I wanted to be able to have enough for the tabletop and the drawer. Here I'm cutting out the apron and the leg stretchers. I'll just lay them out first and then screw them on, trying to hide as many of the screws as possible. I'm going to use my square to make sure that I keep all the screws aligned as best I can, using my clamps as an extra pair of hands just to make sure that the boards don't walk on me. We'll do this for the stretcher and the apron on the left and right side of the table. Once I have that done, I'll have to measure and see how long the front and back stretcher and apron will be. Once I have that determined, I can cut the boards and take it back, lay it out, and put it together. Checking for squareness, this time I was about 1/8 of an inch off, and remember, I am an amateur, so 1/8 of an inch is close enough for me. Now I'm going to measure out the bottom shelf. Remember, I designed this so that we wouldn't have to make any long rip cuts. So the bottom shelf is going to be made out of 2 1x6s and 2 1x4s. Once we have the measurements, we can then go to the circular saw or the miter saw, make our cross cuts, and install the bottom shelf. Now here I also decided to go ahead and put in some cross bracing for the bottom shelf, just to kind of keep the boards from warping, and it'll also make for a better looking finished product. You also have a better look as to how I make my pocket holes without using a pocket hole jig. I'm just going to install that into the center, putting a clamp on both sides of the 2x4, and that way I can get to those pocket holes and screw them in without the clamps being in my way. I'm going to use clamps to hold those boards in place, and then I'll mark out the center of the 1x4s holding up the boards with my square. and also mark out everywhere I'm going to drill pilot holes. It's important to use pilot holes because if you don't, you will split the wood. You're so close to the edge that don't even try to do this without pilot holes. You'll save yourself some work. And here's a glimpse of my next project. I need to build something to hold up this hibachi style grill that my dad made for me. That's for another day. Alright, let's go ahead and install the tabletop now. We'll use the same method. I'm going to use the clamps to hold the tabletop together temporarily. Make sure that we have the same amount of overhang on all four sides. Once I'm satisfied with that, I'll clamp it down, mark out all the places where I'm going to drill pilot holes, and once that's done, I'll screw everything together. Here's a close-up of me screwing in the left side of the table. These are stainless steel screws, but this is Ipe, so Ipe is really hard. So I kind of work the screws in real gingerly so that I don't break the screw. I kind of go in and go out until the screw finally sets in, and I do this for all 8 of these on this side. Well, actually every time I screw in through Ipe, that's what I do. Kind of trial and error on that, just learning to work with this ultra hard wood. It can be hard on your tools. Here I'm just screwing in the cross bracing for the tabletop, and that's mainly to ensure that the top of the table remains flat. Now I'll install some corner bracing for all 4 corners. I'm going to go ahead and install the casters. I'm using 2.5-inch lag bolts. Just go ahead and give everything a good sanding. I'll go ahead and weather seal the bottom half of the table. Now we're just going to go ahead and lay out the drawer, and what I want to be sure of is that I can open and close the built-in Cambro without having to take it out, that everything can happen inside the drawer. Once I'm satisfied with everything, we'll go ahead and cut everything to length and put it together. We'll go ahead, mark out where the screws are going to go, make sure that everything is square in the whole process. Use our clamps. I'm also going to use some wood glue on the drawer just to make sure that everything is nice and tight. Everything's going along real fine. My dad shows up to give me advice, not to help, but yeah, he shows up to give me advice and drink my beer. What else are dads for, I guess? The box is together. The Cambro opens and closes as it's supposed to. So everything's looking good so far. Now I need to cut some drawer mounts for the drawer slides. That's what these 2 boards are going to be for. So We're going to have to break out the Craig jig to get those installed. Now when I install these, I make sure that they're perfectly parallel with each other, and then I'll install the slides on the slide mounts. Once I have the slide mounts installed, I can then put the drawer on the bottom shelf. Make sure that everything is flush, and then just take my pencil and trace out the slide mounts on the bottom. I'll then remove the drawer and remove the base of the slide mounts, put them in where I traced them out, and then I just screw them down. As long as I don't move anything, everything should be just fine. So let's give it a shot and see how well I did. Alright, looks good to me. Everything opens and closes as it should. Now I'm going to go ahead and assemble the top of the drawer. Now there was a couple of things. I was going to put it on hinges, but then I decided not to because I wanted to use I wanted to have more than one use for just this being the top of the drawer. So I decided to make a tray out of it. So I'm installing these bottom braces for my tray, which is also the top of the drawer. I bought some hardware for this also, as you'll see here. So I'm now just going to go ahead and drill the pilot holes for the hardware. Now I did put this pretty close to the edge, and I hope it works out. I've worked with Ipe before, and it's pretty hard wood, so I think it'll still be just fine, even though I did put it close to the edge. If it doesn't work out, I will definitely let you guys know. You will see this in future videos, and if it doesn't work out, I'll tell you about it in one of my future videos. Now it's just time for the polyurethane. Now that I have everything coated with the polyurethane, I'm going to go ahead and install the hardware. I'll install the pull handle for the drawer. Now they do make jigs for this, and you can buy these at your local hardware store, but I couldn't find mine, so I just did it the old-fashioned way and found the center and marked out. I used the actual handle as a template, marked out where I needed to drill, and just screwed it on. Now I'll install a few J-hooks just so that I can hang cooking utensils, towels, or whatever. And we're done. On the left is the Weber kettle station I made in a previous video. In the center is the Weber kettle station I use in all my cooking videos. And on the right is the offset side table we just made. And here is what it's going to look like next to my offset, which comes complete with a backwards Texas on the smokestack. That's how my dad installed it, and he offered to fix it, but I told him to leave it just so I can make fun of him about it. As you can see, the tray is going to be quite useful for carrying things in and out of the house, and the Faux Cambro unfolds and folds like a champ. I'm really satisfied with the way this came out. I hope you enjoyed the video.